What's up, guys? Saf here on SuperSaf Speaks, and welcome to the first episode of 2025. It is episode number 43 with myself, your host, SuperSaf, and my co-host,
Thunder E from Border Work. Let's go 25.
He's doing the whole New Year, New Me thing. He's got like a stripy, colorful shirt on. Look at him. He's happy. He's looking good. Lots to talk about today. We're going to be doing a final roundup of the Samsung Galaxy S25 series, rumors and leaks. The Honey scam, the Honey plugin. A lot of people have been talking about that. We're going to dig in deep to that situation. The Vivo X200 Pro. We've both been using it for a few weeks now, and we've got some thoughts which we can share. And finally, we're going to talk about Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite 2, which is apparently going to be launching even earlier this year with major performance upgrades. So lots to cover. Firstly, we've made it to 2025, bro.
Yes. It's a new year, which means new tech, new things, and also hopefully less stress in life.
Yeah, that's never going to happen. Because everybody kept asking me, it's like, oh, did you get much time off during the break? And I don't mean to sound ungrateful. You know, I'm always happy to have work, right? But I'm like, no, I didn't really get a break because I was working throughout the break. But hey, that's how it is. Grateful to be carrying on the podcast for another year. We were very consistent on 2024, and God willing, inshallah, we'll carry on being consistent in 2025. Samsung Galaxy S25 series. We've only got a little bit of time left for the official announcement. The rumored date for Unpacked is January 22nd on WinFuture. And we do have some new information as well as some of the previous information we've covered in other episodes, which we'll go through. Now, when it comes to the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, that seems to be the one with the biggest design update. So we've got flatter sides and slightly curved edges. I was talking to E about this yesterday, but my sort of way to describe this would be the S24 Plus and the S24 Ultra have a baby, and this is what it looks like. It grows up, and then that's what you have, because the curves on the sides are not as curvy as the S24 and the S24 Plus that we've seen. Dbrand has leaked a bunch of stuff as well. They've got skins available for the new devices, which you can pre-order or order straight away as well, and that gives us the design of all of the devices. We've got that triple ring design, which remains the same on there. But new information that we've got from Evan Blass, who's a serial leaker and has been very accurate, is around the new colors. So for the S25 Ultra, we're looking at a titanium black, gray, jade green, and jet black. So that's going to be interesting. And of course, we're also going to have some exclusive colors, a pink gold, a silver blue, as well as a white silver. So those are going to be the Samsung exclusive colors. I'm very much interested in this jet black color, I'll be honest with you.
Of course.
You can tell.
I mean, some things don't change when we change years.
Hey, man, it's hard to improve perfection. I'm kidding. That's just the generic response that comes out whenever somebody says that. But anyway, S25 and the S25 Plus, design-wise, they look like they're going to be similar. We're going to have a blue, black, coral, red, an icy blue, a mint, a navy, a pink gold, and a silver shadow. So these are the rumored new colors and design. We've talked about the design previously. I think for the S25 Ultra in particular, I think it's a nice incremental update. But hey, they do look quite similar to the past few years. Maybe next year we'll see a bigger change to the design.
I mean, it does. It does look incremental to some degree, but then again, mind you, we're going off leaks and rumors here and all that, but I'm looking
I think they're pretty accurate at this point. At this point, it's just like, Samsung, everything's covered. We've pretty much got all the details.
I am looking at the Dbrand website where they have the S25 skins, Ultra skins.
Yeah.
I do like this yellow one, and using the skin as the example here, I think it looks slightly different, but yet the same, which I like. Mm-hmm. That's something at least I prefer than it just being more of the same, where you can tell they've changed their changes, but you really can't pinpoint it. It's kind of like how car manufacturers will change a car, where they may change some of the lights or the back, and you're like, it's still a Mercedes, but I'm liking this one. Yeah. That's what it is. That's what I feel like. So I like what I see here. It's just, we got to look at those internals and what's new with the camera and all that fun stuff.
Well, so the next thing that I want to talk about, now that you've mentioned it with the cameras, as far as we can see, there is a leaker called Assemble Debug on Twitter, kind of got some specs of the cameras. As far as we can see on the S25 Ultra anyway, the hardware is going to remain relatively the same. So a 200 megapixel primary camera, a 10 megapixel 3x telephoto camera, a 50 megapixel 5x telephoto camera, which is going to give you that 5x optical zoom, and it's going to be able to extend all the way to 100 times. But the big change is on the ultra wide camera. So that's now rumored to be a 50 megapixel 1/1.57 inch sensor. So this will be a new ultra wide camera, which I think is about time because obviously with Apple, they also updated the ultra wide camera on the 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. Personally speaking, the ultra wide camera, the S24 Ultra, I think has an excellent ultra wide camera. I would say it's better than the iPhone 16 Pro Max, but the fact that they're going to be improving this is a positive sign.
Yeah, I agree. I think when it comes to the main sensor, really, where are you going to go past 200, 400? Come on, like it's not necessary there. I think maybe just making the lens better and some of the other things better around that sensor makes sense. But the ultra wide, I think, needs some improvement, especially when you look at some of the other competition out there, not just the iPhone itself. And I think it's a good point. Plus, the Snapdragon X Elite is doing most of the heavy lifting in terms of just what you can do, with that chipset in terms of the imagery and stuff like that. So we'll just have to see how it looks. But, these cameras nowadays are getting very, similar in terms of quality,
Okay, so you're saying that, but we're going to be talking about the Vivo X200 Pro later. I think it's definitely a step ahead right now in terms of just what they've thrown at the hardware and how the shots look with the bokeh and everything.
Yeah.
So I disagree. It doesn't necessarily have to be higher megapixels, but I think there is room for improvement, and I think Vivo have shown us that, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
All right, now before we get on to the performance, the display, Ice Universe has said that there's going to be a more powerful second gen of Gorilla Armor. So I'm assuming that it's going to be a bit more durable, a bit more scratch resistant, which we did have. Gorilla Armor, I've absolutely loved the anti-reflective properties. I mentioned this in my previous videos, is that for me, it is the best display on a smartphone this the year of 2024. But yeah, so this is going to be a welcome improvement. And then, as you were saying, the performance. It's the Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy. Now, this is the key thing here. It's going to be for Galaxy. We usually have something that's slightly overclocked, and that's going to be for the S25 Ultra across the board as far as we're seeing, similar to what we had in the S24 Ultra. However, the S25 and the S25 Plus will likely have Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy in some regions, and on other regions, they will likely have the Exynos 2500. That's according to rumors. We don't know yet, but that's what it's looking like. And I wouldn't be surprised because that is exactly what they did for the S24 series, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it helps me make more content. I can tell you that much.
He's always like messaging me. He's like, all right, can you pre-order it for me and send it over so then I can start doing some Exynos versus Snapdragon comparisons. It's a 3nm chip, but it's going to be interesting to put it up against the 8 Elite, which is kind of like the benchmark. That's the one to beat on the Android side, right? And I think especially when it comes to efficiency, like the 8 Elite has been crazy efficient. Yeah. And that's something that I'm looking forward to on the S25 series, because that should mean, even though that we've got similar sized batteries as far as we're seeing from the leaks and rumors, it will mean that it's going to be way more efficient.
I agree. I think that's one of the things to see what it actually does with the S25 in terms of battery life, and also even the Exynos too, just to see if it can get close enough to that or match, because you got to have the similar experience there where, just because you're changing chips, then as Safa said before, like years ago, he's like, if you're not giving me the same experience, then call it the S25e or something else. Like can't be the S25.
I agree. I think for me, it's always been a case of, we are in an international market. It's 2025. We want to make sure that what you're getting is, unless the experience is pretty much the same, which it has. I mean, last year it wasn't too bad, but unless you're getting the exact same experience, then you should call it something else. Now, software-wise, Samsung has been ahead of the curve. I would say you've been playing around with One UI 7, right?
Yeah.
So how's that been for you?
It's been good. I like the implementation. It's very straightforward. So the search bar has come to the bottom just for easy accessibility. Even someone like me who has big hands, it's still just easier to type in that way. And then some of the stuff they are doing where they sort of copied the dynamic island, but they put it onto the lock screen actually makes sense. At least to me, I like some of the practicality there as opposed to just blatantly going, we can make a dynamic island, like Apple type of thing. So it's good. There's some more changes that are coming, and it looks like it's more streamlined effects. The one I'm waiting to see, according to rumors, is that Bixby is going to be getting a big overhaul with ChatGPT in the background.
Okay.
Getting empowered. So which would be good for Bixby. Bixby, maybe they can finally release that Bixby home speaker.
Let's see. Finally, I'm sure Marquez will have something to say about that.
I know, right?
Yeah. The other rumor that I've seen as well is that all of the S25 series devices will start with 12 gigabytes of RAM instead of 8, like we've had previously.
Nice.
So that'll be good. And again, that might be for a lot of the on-device features, and especially with the 8 Elite. We're going to have all of the AI features that we've seen. Let's see if they have some new ones or if they're improved. We don't know too much about that. I think Samsung is going to try to keep that as much of a surprise as possible. And pricing. Now, the good news is, as far as I'm seeing here on winfuture.de, is that pricing in Europe anyway should be starting roughly about the same as what the S24 series started at, right? So for the S25, you're looking at around 900 euros starting price. The S25 Plus, you're looking at around 1,150 euros. And for the S25 Ultra, around 1,450 euros. So that's the kind of pricing that we're looking, this is what's rumored right now, but at least it's not likely to be more than what the S24 series started at.
I mean, that's good. And hopefully it stays the same way in the US, although I think for now our pricing should be safe. We know that, incoming president is looking to put tariffs, and so far Korea is not part of those tariffs. So at least for now we can say, I can at least be assured that pricing will stay relatively similar until things change.
Well, the dollar has been pretty strong recently, so that might actually go in your lot's favor. So yeah. So from that point of view, it might still be, it could be slightly less, maybe $50 less in the US. Who knows?
See, this is the thing that I find quite interesting is that, don't you miss the days where you didn't have to care about the strength of the dollar, the currency exchange, or what's going on? I mean, it's just fun to be like, I want to buy this, done, right?
No, but you know that time when we had Brexit here in the UK, everything went more expensive. All products, literally, I remember it was a new iPad that was going to be released. I can't remember which one on the top of my head now. But anyway, I told my niece, the new one's coming out. Wait, don't buy this one yet, right? And that was the first time my advice actually went against what actually happened, because the old iPad increased in price. And I was just like, this has never happened before, right? And, for Apple, it was literally just a case of exchange rates. That, okay, the pound's gone weaker, so, this device that was supposed to drop in price has now increased. So then, luckily, I managed to find a deal for on Amazon, I believe, just before the price even increased on there too. But I was just like, oh man, that was a close one. But yeah, it's crazy how these things can affect the pricing of devices. But, let's see what the price will be. 22nd of Jan is the date that we need to put in your diaries. That's what's rumored to be the date for Unpacked. Of course, guys, we're going to be doing lots of coverage on our main channels, so do stay tuned for that. Should be pretty exciting, and a big bang to start off the year in 2025 with the new S25 series.
Yeah.
Right. Next up, before we talk about the Vivo X200 Pro, before we talk about another smartphone, we have to talk about this Honey scam. So I'm going to break it down for you and just give you a quick summary. This all came to light from a YouTuber named Megalag, who just did a detailed, an absolutely amazing piece of journalism and research that he did over many, many months to kind of find out what has been going on. So for those of you who don't know, Honey is a browser extension or plugin, if you want to call it, and it's supposed to help users save money when shopping online by finding codes and discounts, right? So generally, if you're like me, I'm brown. if I'm ever about to buy something, I'll always search for coupon codes, right? It's like, hey, if you can get 5-10% off, why not, right? But Honey is supposed to find you the best coupon codes and discounts and apply them for you automatically, right? Now, Megalag, based on his research, has claimed that Honey firstly intercepts money from affiliates, whether it provides a deal or not, right? It intercepts that. And also that it ignores better deals in favor of its own coupons, right? I'm going to break this down a little bit, right? Affiliates, for those of you who don't know, you must have heard of affiliates a lot, YouTubers, content creators. If they recommend a product and you use their link, and if that does have an affiliate setup, what will happen is they'll get a slight kickback. So maybe they'll get a couple of percent. So, if you're buying something for $100, they might get like $2, $3, $4, just for sending you there. And it can be quite lucrative for a lot of content creators, and especially smaller content creators who don't have access to brand deals and things. $2 might not sound like much, but if they refer 1,000 people, then that could be, a couple of $1,000s, which is pretty good, right? Now, what Megalag found was that if you go via an affiliate, so say I recommend a product, you click on, you go into app, wherever, you go into their website, and then you apply the Honey discount code extension. So you just tap whatever it is on Honey. And what Honey will do then is it will actually intercept. So it will take away the affiliate from the creator that sent you and then add their own. And here's the key thing, whether they provide you a discount or not. They say, sorry, we couldn't find a deal, but they've still intercepted and taken that affiliate revenue, right? Now, the one thing that I want to say, which I don't think I've really heard other people saying, is that for an extension like this to work, for a business to work, you do need to have a way for them to make money, right? So I think if they only intercepted it if they provided you a deal. So say, for example, you want to buy a phone, you click on a link, and then Honey gives you 10% off that phone, and then they intercept that affiliate deal, and then they get the money. Still kind of, not ethically great because somebody else has sent you to that website. Otherwise, you wouldn't have got that. But I guess people would have been a little bit less like, okay, fair enough. They need to make money, right? Okay. I think the problem here is that they might not actually give you anything. They'll be like, oh, it's okay, we've not found you anything, but hey, we'll still take the commission, right? And I think that's where the problem is. So I think my solution would have been, like, if you are being ethical, right, about it, is that if somebody else refers you and then you provide a discount code, if you don't provide one, you don't take anything because you've not helped them anyway. But if you do provide a discount code, if you at least shared that affiliate income, I'm not sure how that would work technically, then nobody would have a problem with that because, hey, Honey is giving you something and so is the content creator, right? What are your thoughts on that, E?
I think, your remedy sounds decent enough. I think one of the things, that might be difficult to implement, but at least even if there was a prompt that came up and said, we just found you $10 off, but if you click on this, you'll be using our referral link. Still dubious, but at least there's some level of forewarning to the customer, all right? That's what's happening. The fact that this ran under the radar is very bad, in the sense that we've all become used to using all these Chrome extensions for different things. I use Rakuten a lot because I basically get points on my credit card off that, and I don't even think about it. I'd literally just go, click, 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 done. Or that's it. Especially for something like Honey, where whether it's Saf or, David Kogan or somebody else, describes the device and you're like, okay, I like it, I want to buy it. You click on it and you're like, all of us do this. There's a part of us goes like, what, I helped him out. That's cool. I've helped that creator. I'm buying the device, which is great. And then Honey's like, come to me, and let me just enjoy that sweet honey. That's what it is, and it's such a bad take, especially for a company like PayPal. Now I don't know how intrinsic this ties into PayPal itself, or because they own Honey, or Honey it's separate. Because sometimes it is that way. I'm not going to put the blame on PayPal fully or anything yet, but I think this is one of those things where we've seen, and I think when Saf actually sent me this video, I first thought it was just like a clickbait video for something else.
He's just like,
Because there's always a creator click video all the time, just because the imagery pretty much was that. But this is a very disturbing trend that I'm seeing against content creators. This honey thing is just one. The another thing you find is a lot of scam emails we get, which we don't talk about a lot. But, this is a trend to look at creators as a market pool to suck money out of. Which is what I look at it as, is that honey has gone like, well, you know what? Instead of us sourcing people directly ourselves, spending the time to get people and offer them our affiliate links so we can actually do this, no, we will just do it with creators. And then there's the other half where honey also has sponsorship deals with creators. So think about it this way. Honey spends, let's say honey pays a big creator $20,000, right? And says, we want you to pitch honey in your next video. The creator, they spend $20,000 and the creator now gets maybe, usually click-through rates for some of this stuff is about 10%. Now, if that creator usually gets about 1 million views, right? And 10% of that, that's already 100,000 people subscribed to honey, which means now honey now has 100,000 subscribers or users that they can basically siphon off, especially when that creator again now says, hey, you know what? Check out the Galaxy S25. You know what? Use that link. And that's always S25, iPhones are very big. So they're now taking all of those users off. So when they look at the affiliates for the S25 and going like, you know what? Last year we did really well on the S24. S25, excuse me? $500? Nah, something's wrong. That, to me, that is the scummiest part of things.
So here's the thing. Let's try to put this into a daily analogy first, right? So say a salesman comes to you and is like, this is for the creator, right? Says, look, I'm going to install this water filter for you, right, in your house, right? And I'm actually going to pay you for this water filter, just put it in, it's going to be good for you. All right, cool. So you're like, all right, brilliant. He's paid me, $1,000, right? But then your water bills go up. Essentially, right? And then you're paying more for water than you would have done because now you've got this new filter that this person has installed, which was supposed to be a benefit for you, right? And in the same way, these creators who did sponsor honey, we didn't, right? We didn't work with honey. They have been in touch a few times, and I don't know why we didn't actually go ahead with it. God save us. Alhamdulillah. Yeah. Praise the Lord. But we've dodged quite a few of these, haven't we, by the way?
Oh, yes, we have.
23andMe we've dodged, thankfully. Remember the one, what was that, where you could be a lord or a lady for, some...
Oh, yes, I remember
that one.
Yes.
Again, we were in talks with them and we managed to dodge that, so,
And then, of course, there was OnlyFans. There's that too.
We can go back and watch that video when we got approached by OnlyFans as well. So thankfully, we've been pretty safe, and may God protect us from getting into deals. We do try to work with accounts and brands that we want to work with. And for full transparency, we have worked with PayPal before, right? Yeah. And if anything, it was a very good. I have to say, they were really good. They gave us creative freedom. We did funny little skits on Instagram where I was sending money to my uncle who was the Colonel. He was getting married again. It was just like a funny skit, and they were like super chill. They were like, you just go ahead, do something that you think will work, and it was a really good partnership. So PayPal's a big company, right? And obviously there's a lot of layers to it stuff. I'm not trying to defend them, but I'm just saying that our experience was actually very good. We had creative freedom. They were really good in terms of very professional and everything as well. And we were working with them on just using PayPal to send money to family, or using PayPal to pay for things quickly and not having to put in your details every time and things like that. This is, I think, before honey even came into the picture, right?
I think honey was pretty young back then, but yes, something like that.
So this is the thing. So there is that element of it as well, but it is quite a shady thing. Now, the second part of it, which I think for consumers is even more problematic, right? Because there might be some people who watch your videos, but what, these influencers make too much money. So what if I'm getting a discount code and they're not getting their affiliate revenue? They don't care. Fair enough. That's absolutely fine, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who do that, and that's absolutely fine, no problem. The issue is, when honey apparently, according to Megalag's research, right, ignores better deals in favor of its own. So, sometimes honey can have a partnership with a particular brand and they will get a bigger affiliate revenue from that deal, right? So instead of giving you, say, for example, 15% off, they might just give you 10%. Because now you're so confident of using honey after you've been using it for a few years that you just go on and you don't even think twice about it. You just go and you're not going to go around looking for other things because this is what it's supposed to do. And this is what it's advertised to do. And this is what a lot of content creators have said, right? In their videos, when they're promoting honey, they're like, oh, you're never going to have to look for another coupon code again. You can just use honey. So now, okay, they've built this trust, right? And then they're like, oh, actually, we'll only give you 10% instead of 15%, which you could find if you went ahead and looked for it yourself, right? And it literally says, we can't find a better deal for you. This is the best deal, right? But that is not actually the best deal for you. So then now it's directly affecting your pocket, the consumer, right? Okay, so there's two elements to that. There's the content creators who, especially the content creators who promoted honey, right? But then there's, on the other hand, it's you as a consumer that it's affecting as well, which I think is even worse, right, for the consumer. Yeah. And yeah, so that part of it, I think, is even more shady.
No, it is. It is that just, it's a double whammy here from honey, which honestly, whoever approved this process literally knew, they knew what they were doing. This has nothing to do with being like, oh, we thought we could do this, but we didn't know. But, when you're affecting the consumer and you're going like, nah, we don't need to give them 15%. Like, you can do 10. No one's going to search for it. And besides, they'll be like, it's only 5. It's cool. I still got my 10%. That's what they're banking on, which is not a good thing. So what is the solution for this? Is this something that can be, be brought up to a trade commission? Or has Honey even responded to this? Because I don't think I've heard anything from them yet.
I've not seen anything. I've been looking, and as far as I can see, they haven't responded, right? It's the holidays and stuff. A lot of people are probably off. They're going to come back to an absolute PR nightmare. But, as far as I'm aware, I've looked around online and I've not seen that they've responded. I'm not sure how. I think especially the second part, because I'm sure with the affiliate revenue, I'm sure there's something in the terms and conditions when you accept, when you just scroll through and you just click on agree. I'm sure there's something that clarifies that we do take the affiliate revenue, right? So I think on that side of things, it's more of an ethical thing. And obviously, especially when you've used creators to promote this, right? A lot of creators who do, as far as I'm aware, pretty much every creator that I know does use some form of affiliate marketing, right? Because it's a good thing to use, right? So that's one side. But the other side, which I think they might have like trading standards involved and potentially a legal situation, is where it's been false advertising, because they are not actually doing what they are advertising, and they're actually giving you worse deals to profit themselves, right? Which I think is going to be the bigger problem. So let's see what they do and what they respond with. As far as we've seen, this video has gone viral. Lots of people have been talking about it. Megalag, his video has got a lot of views, and he's also said that 3 million users have stopped using honey after his video. So he's got 13 million views on his video, right? 3 million. That is a big number. If you look at the ratings on Google Play, it's right now honey is on 2.1 stars, right? So this has been a massive thing, and it can't be ignored. And I know they're not going to be able to ignore it. So let's see what they respond with, and what's to come from it, and if there's anything that they can do to kind of make up for it. Because obviously, all of the years that they've been doing it, there's no real way to track back and do that, right? So that's not going to happen.
Wow.
But let's see what they do going forward.
I just did the math. He has roughly a 25% click-through rate on that video to ensure that people stop using honey from his 30 million views on that video.
But I think a lot of people, because a lot of people obviously talked about it, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people from that point of view as well, just, from other videos as well, this video got a lot of attention. But again, full credit for this whole investigation to Megalag. I actually hadn't come across him before. He comes across to me as like a CoffeeZilla, who obviously we're like huge fans of. So Megalag, keep up the great work, great investigation, full credit. Do check out his video. Right, next up, the Vivo X200 Pro. What a device. Now, before we go into our experience with it, the first thing I want to say is, oh mate, I got so much hate because this didn't make my top 5 smartphones of 2024, right? Okay. Now, the thing is, I didn't have the device then when I made that video, okay? Let me just be clear. Had I had this before I made that video, this would have made my top 5 list, hands down, right? Because it's an amazing device. The issue is, I think it kind of got announced in around October time. I was invited to the event in China. I couldn't make it. But then the international, global version, or whatever you want to call it, they didn't release it till end of December.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, yes, I could have imported it in, all of that jazz, right? But I wasn't sure when it was going to come. I thought, okay, it's coming out in October. I'll have it, by the end of October, right? It didn't happen. I published my video. I got lots of people saying, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about, Saf." All the usual. You're not a real reviewer, etc., etc. And I was like, bro, this is my personal choice. These are the ones I've used. And again, I hadn't used the Vivo X200 Pro at that time. Since then, obviously, I did get it a few weeks after I published that video, and I've been using it. And firstly, I just got to say, the cameras. Wow, they have a huge sensor, and the bokeh that you get, or the bokeh, depending on how you want to say it, is so good. I was just checking out the Polestar, and I took some pictures, and man, it's just the pictures are so crisp. It's amazing, right? Mm-hmm. And also the other cameras as well, like the telephoto camera, you can use for macro images, so it's got telemacro. Right? Yeah. Now, one of the problems with using a macro camera generally is that you have to get very close to your subject, right? Now, if you want to take pictures of, I don't know, like an insect or something, you're not going to be able, because as soon as you get close, it's going to fly off or it's going to go away, right? With this, it actually gives you that ability to do that. My friend Omar has made a great video covering the macro side of things. I'll definitely link his video down in the description, so do check that out. He got some amazing macro shots of his eye and all of these different insects and stuff. And some of these look like, they could be magazine covers, absolutely amazing shots. So that's the camera, firstly. What are your thoughts on the camera so far?
I mean, the camera is stellar. I actually imported the international version. I basically had to do my gaming video on MediaTek Dimensity 9400, which on that device was absolutely, it's great. The images of the camera it's really amazing, because I didn't even think about it because I was just taking pictures. I didn't even really look at the camera specs. But the telephoto camera is a 200 megapixel, which is why they can actually do that telemacro right there on that sensor. It's a big switch from what Samsung is doing with 200 megapixel for the main sensor, but also again the main sensor is f1.6, 23 millimeters wide. I think they've done a good job in hardware placement, great hardware with chipset, also with the lenses, and everything comes out almost, I would say, almost the way you want it, in the sense that for most people it's just like, oh yes, this is what I wanted to capture, even though that's probably not what you did, but this is what you wanted to capture, right? That's that's the feeling I get from this camera. It's like I pointed something and it takes better than what I'm seeing, or even better than what I was trying to recreate. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that's it. I'm sharing this. I can send it to family and friends. I don't have to be like, let me take another one, or especially during the holidays where you're taking photos with family, and then you're like, guys, one more, just come back together. So it does a really good job on that, I have to say.
It's a great camera, and I think for photos, it's the one to beat. Video as well, good quality video, but I think in particular when it comes to photos, it is definitely the one to beat right now, because it's just got excellent quality photos. The build and design, I like the build and design. It's nice. We've got this now circular camera at the back, which is now becoming quite a common theme. The only thing that I would say is, now, because they've spent so much on the camera, it is top heavy, right? So I'm just trying to hold it right now. If you try to hold it like that, it can lean forward. It can because that camera is so big, right? The module and all of everything that they've got inside it. So that's one thing that I will say, that when you are using it, it kind of feels like it's going to fall over at the front. And I was very careful when I was out with it, especially if you're not going to use it with the case. So that's something that I will say about the design. But apart from that, it's pretty good. The display, beautiful, 6.78 inches. It's using 8T LTPO technology, so it's 0.1 to 120 hertz, nice and smooth. And it's got a slight bit of a curvature on the screen, which is nice. I would prefer something that was flat, so not too bad. But the battery, man. So this has a 6,000 milliamp hour battery, and that kind of, I wonder if they could have, again, I almost dropped it, right? I wonder if they could have done something to kind of distribute the weight a little bit better. But it's one of the best when it comes to battery life. It is a battery champ. 90 watts charging, which came included in the box that I got anyway. 30 watts of wireless charging. I mean, they have really like ticked a lot of the boxes when it comes to this device.
Oh yeah. One of the things I like about the battery here is that, you know, these new chipsets, whether it's the Dimensity 9400 or the Snapdragon X Elite, are much better in terms of efficiency when it comes to battery usage. But they still went with a 6,000 milliamp battery. So which means they were like, you know what, this new chipset will give us an extra, let's call it 20%, right?
Yeah.
But we'll still give you an extra 1,000 milliamps as well. So that just extends the battery life. And to your point, I do agree that, yes, I wish some of that 6,000 milliamps was at the bottom of the phone to balance it out, which makes sense. But I'm very impressed with the leap for Vivo last year, because the X100 Pro last year was a good phone, but did not hit the camera or any of the features like this way. Like, it didn't impress in this environment. It was like, cool, nice one, we'll see you next year. Now this year they were like, here you go, and we're like, oh snap, okay, thank you very much. And I like this jump from Vivo. You know, they're going to be compared to the S25, the iPhone. Even if you don't, I can guarantee now that if we don't put this in a comparison in some level, people are going to rain abuses on us like no tomorrow, because
we're going to get abused anyway, regardless, but yeah, a bit more so. Solid device. Now, obviously, Dimensity 9400 with up to 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage. The Dimensity 9400, we've talked about this before. It is a beast. It's solid. Maybe when it comes to just raw performance, it's not at the same level as the 8 Elite, right? But it is an absolute beast. Software now, we've got FunTouch OS 15. Now, the word Fun Touch on its own, right? Okay. And I think this is where the branding of, like obviously what works in China or what works internationally is a little bit different. So, my software I've got is FunTouch, right? So FunTouch OS 15. I mean, it's not bad. I've been using it. It's pretty good. You've got some AI features. What I found is that, I think Samsung really kind of set the bar when it came to AI features, because they have a lot of generative AI features, right? So I think this is where, it gets people really excited, like, whoa, okay, that's cool, right? Where you can just, use sketch to image, for example, you can just doodle something and boom, it just like kind of generates this for you. And I think that's where it's kind of key, because we've got Circle to Search pretty much on all new Android devices now. Great, love it, right? We've got Magic Eraser and, different variations of that. Again, great, good stuff, right? But then I think the stuff that people really get excited about, and I think this is where Samsung's kind of leading, is when it comes to generative AI, right? And that's something that I'm not seeing on many devices that are coming from China right now.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with that, is probably access to whatever the government access is to Gemini and some of these features down the line, just because we know there's a lot of bureaucracy there with that. So maybe, when it comes to, Magic Eraser and things like that, everyone goes like, oh yeah, sure, that's something you can have on the device, but there might be limitations there. And also spend, because AI is not cheap. Just because we all have some access to AI now, somebody is subsidizing what you're using. Just remember that across the board.
Yeah, which is why with the S24 Ultra, they said that these AI features will be free until the end of 2026, right? Yeah. After that, we don't know. Will there be a monthly fee? Because, all of this stuff takes processing power, right? So some of it's done on device, but especially when it comes to generative AI models, they have to be running on servers somewhere, right? Which costs money. So we'll see what happens with that. Pricing and availability. So we've been looking around, like it's not as easy to get hold of this, as other devices. There isn't a proper international version as far as I can see. So you can pick it up from eBay, for example. And right now to import it in from China, it's about £700. You probably have a bit of tax on there as well, so it's reasonably priced, I would say, as well. But yeah, I think the interesting thing for me is, will this be considered a 2024 device or a 2025 device, right? Because traditionally, whenever I've done my top 5 smartphone lists, right, even if it's like the mid-year ones, I usually just include devices that have been released that year. this kind of came out towards the end of the year, and all of these devices are now coming out earlier and earlier. So it's just like, we're not getting a full year cycle. We're kind of getting 9 months. So it's like, okay, here's a new device, and then instead of a year, 9 months later, here's another new device. So it's not really following the yearly cycle, and I don't know what they're trying to do there. Are they trying to match the iPhone release schedule? Maybe.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would say for you, at least this device might end up in your, you always do a top 5, 6 months, or at least what we've seen so far. So maybe this device will hit there. I don't know
but then again, I don't. That video never. The one of the questions I always get and beef that I get is that, oh, you've not included any iPhones, and then I'm like, yeah, but there's not been any new iPhones released this year so far, right? So now people are going to be like, yeah, but then you just included the Vivo, which came out in 2024. So right? So I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure this out because they've just made it really complicated.
No, just base it off next year's chip, whatever is considered next year's chipset.
Well, okay, all right. That brings us on nicely to the next topic, right? Because Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite 2 could launch even earlier. So we had October release for the 8 Elite, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. Now this could go even earlier, which is what tells me that are they trying to match the iPhone schedule?
Yeah, but why?
Why, Qualcomm? Why are you doing this?
I mean,
we need Colonel to come out and give them a
good talking.
Yes.
I don't understand when it would be. What, end of September, which would still be like right after the iPhone hits the market, then they make the announcement, right? That's
so right now it's saying early October 2025, right? So before it was kind of late October, now it's going to early October, which means in 2026 it'll probably be September. At this rate.
Yeah. It will be literally the week after.
Yeah. That's literally what it's looking like right now because, I think now it's going to be a case of, but then I guess the big question is Samsung going to move the S series earlier?
No, they will move the Fold back there. Because it makes the easiest sense. The Fold is just literally a month before. I remember the Fold used to be the Note, going back when. The Note used to be either late August, early September, depending on when iPhone launch was. And even way before that, the Note was October, like early Notes, like Note maybe 3, 4, something like that. So I think the Fold will go into that slot because, again, that fits in the manufacturing timeline. It makes perfect sense for them. Okay. There's no need to do. And then you could either ease up the Galaxy, the S26 line or the S line to maybe around March or closer to, in the US, closer to tax season, which now falls in line with 2 spending periods, correctly, which is
because that's what it used to be before.
Season. Yeah.
That's what the S series used to be around March, April time, right?
Yeah.
And then they moved it to Feb, and now it's in Jan. But everything seems to be moving earlier and earlier, and especially if you look at all of these other devices, like we were just talking about the Vivo X200 Pro. That came out in October, right? Mm-hmm. Technically, I mean, obviously in China, but like internationally a little bit later, but technically it came out in October. Now, as we saw with the 8 Elite announcement, you had Honor, you had all of these manufacturers, you had Oppo and, whoever else, right? Coming straight and dropping the devices. Asus.
Dude, I got my Realme device 3 days later.
There you go. You know what I mean? And that was in October. Now, apparently they're moving it even earlier, right? So, in terms of performance boosts, it's supposed to have a 20% improvement on both single and multi-core tasks compared to the current generation. And it's also a 30% CPU performance boost, right? Compared to the 8 Elites. So, yes, it's going to be improved, but man, it's getting too early, man. Let's have a chat with Qualcomm.
Yes, I'm fine with that if we properly change the phone cycles themselves to match. Because at least think about it, if we get the Fold in October, then at least August is relatively free. I'm just saying that.
You say that, I'm sure there's going to be something else.
Someone else is going to, Google's going to move to August and be like, yeah, we own August now.
Yeah. Well, that's what they did this time, didn't they? Because usually Google's October, but then they went and they wanted to get in before the iPhone and they did it in August, right? So I think, what's happening? Because, one of the issues that we get every year, right, is, okay, so now the S25 is going to be coming out. Of course, the one that everybody wants to see, whether they say it or not, the one that's going to get the most views is when I compare it to the latest iPhone, which in this case is going to be the iPhone 16 Pro Max. But you'll always get some wise asses in the comments saying, oh, why are you comparing it to the iPhone? That is, let me see, September, October, November. That's 4 months old, right? Okay. And then it'll be like, yeah, but that's the newest version available. And then you'll get the flip side where you'll get people saying, oh, why are you comparing it to the S24? Like, you know, when I covered the iPhone 16 Pro Max, they're like, why are you comparing it to the S24 Ultra? You should wait. You should wait. Mother lover, I'm not going to wait for you. I'm going to do what works for me and works what's the majority of people want to see, right? I'm not going to be like, oh, thank you, my friend, for, you know, just enlightening me right now and telling me that this device is 4 months old, which I am fully aware of. But thank you for doing that. You know what? I'm just going to pack my channel up and I'm not going to do this comparison that millions of people want to see. Sorry, I just wanted to get that rant in there for those smart asses. But anyway, at least that will solve this problem because, say, for example, they start moving it earlier and then we get the new devices, not completely, but kind of around the same time as the iPhone. Is that what they're trying to do? I don't know.
Or maybe this actually is in response to both the iPhone 17 Air rumors and the Galaxy S25 Slim rumors, because those devices are not set to launch technically at the same time, at least according to rumors, with both devices, which puts everything off.
Well, it's just either that or they're just kind of like just making everything a mess just to make our lives harder.
Like, how can we make these guys' lives miserable?
Yes, let's just do something else. Let's just mix things up even more than they were. Because to be fair, I did prefer when the Samsung Galaxy S series came out around March time. I think that was kind of a little bit better because it just give you a bit of time to breathe and then also cover that, and it also made it closer to the September iPhone release date. So then it just kind of matched up a little bit. But we'll see what they do. It looks like right now the trend is everything's getting earlier.
True.
All right, that's all we have time for this episode. Really hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you did, then do consider subscribing to the channel. We're on 60,000 subscribers on YouTube. God willing, inshallah, we will hit 100K maybe this year. If not, it's fine. We're not going to put pressure on ourselves. But if you haven't already, then do subscribe to the YouTube channel and then do rate the podcast and follow it on all of your favorite social media platforms. This has been your host, Saf, and my co-host,
Thunder E from Border Work,
on SuperSaf Speaks, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Adios.